All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the strategic, the legal, and of course, the emotional realities of prenuptial agreements. For decades, the word prenup has carried this kind of quiet sting, right? We usually associate it with messy celebrity divorces or ultra-wealthy dynasties. But today, we're totally stripping away that social stigma. We're going to bypass all the gossip and look at what the actual data and legal experts say about these contracts.
But first, we got to address the cultural elephant in the room, this lingering myth that planning for the worst means you expect to fail. I mean, we've all inherited this cultural storyline that says, hey, if you truly believed in your relationship, you wouldn't need a prenup. Well, experts actually argue the opposite. They say healthy relationships aren't built on avoiding tough conversations, they're built on tackling them head-on. So instead of a prediction of failure, a prenup is increasingly being viewed as a profound act of transparency.
So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll cover what a prenup actually is, the strategic pros, the emotional reality, the legal cons, what they absolutely cannot do, and finally, the verdict. Let's get into it.
Section 1. What is a prenup?
Okay, so at its core, a prenup is basically just a private legal framework. It's a rulebook you create to override your state's default property division laws. You see, if you get married without one, the state you live in already has a plan for how to divide your assets and debts if you divorce. A prenuptial agreement simply allows you and your partner to write your own rules, rather than just leaving your entire financial future up to a judge or default state laws.
Section 2. The strategic pros.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that these benefits apply to everybody, absolutely not just the ultra-wealthy. Think about entrepreneurs. A prenup protects business partners from suddenly having to co-own a company with an ex-spouse. No way they want that, right? For blended families, it guarantees that family wealth actually reaches the kids from a prior marriage instead of getting diverted. And honestly, perhaps most practically, if a divorce does happen, having the division of assets predetermined can save literally tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees and years of agonizing litigation.
You can kind of think of a prenup as a financial force field. In today's world, it's incredibly common to enter a marriage with some baggage, like significant student loans or credit card debt. If you're marrying someone with heavy liabilities, this agreement ensures their premarital debt remains exactly that, theirs. It completely insulates your shared marital assets from being swooped up by creditors to pay off those old loans.
Moving on to Section 3, the emotional reality. Because we can't just talk about the money, right? The process of getting a prenup can either build walls through fear, or it can build bridges through trust. A fear-based approach feels pretty terrible. It's like one partner is locking down assets just to protect themselves. But a values-based approach, that totally flips the script. It becomes this deeply collaborative discussion about how you're going to make financial decisions together, who carries what responsibilities, and what fairness actually looks like if the worst were to happen.
But this brings us to a really insidious psychological con called structural exclusion. Picture this: a couple signs a prenup in their 20s, agreeing to keep all business growth separate. Decades pass. One partner pauses their entire career to raise the kids and run the household, which allows the other partner's business to just explode in value. Well, that partner at home might start to feel deeply alienated from the wealth generated during the marriage. It really goes to show that a document that seems totally fair on paper today can carry some massive, unanticipated emotional consequences down the road.
Which leads us right into Section 4, the legal cons. Okay, let's talk about the immediate pain point, the cost. Properly executing one of these agreements, especially if you have complex assets or businesses, is not cheap. You have to hire 2 independent attorneys to make sure both people are fairly represented. This whole song and dance can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000, which, let's be honest, is a very heavy, profoundly unromantic bill to get hit with right in the middle of tasting wedding cakes. And here's a massive legal pitfall you need to know about: unconscionability. Basically, a prenup that waives spousal support might look perfectly fine when a dual-income couple signs it at age 25. But fast forward 30 years, if one spouse develops a chronic illness or completely gives up their earning potential for the family, a judge could look at that original agreement and just toss it in the trash. Courts have the power to invalidate agreements if they become unconscionable, meaning they'd leave one spouse totally destitute while the other walks away rich.
And honestly, it's wild how easily these things can fall apart.
If you rush to sign it just days before the wedding, a court might actually rule that a partner was coerced under the pressure of the ceremony. Or if you try to save a buck with a cheap online template that doesn't fit your state's specific laws, or worse, if you hide even a single bank account during the disclosure process, yep, the entire document could be rendered completely worthless in court.
Section 5. What prenups cannot do.
There is a very strict, hard boundary in the law here. Courts are more than happy to let you divide up your bank accounts, protect a family business, or shield an inheritance. Go for it. But they will instantly strike down anything regarding personal behaviors. You literally cannot mandate who does the laundry, or try to penalize someone for gaining weight. And crucially, you cannot dictate anything regarding children.
Let me be 100% clear on this. You can never, ever legally contract away a child's right to financial support or try to prearrange a custody split. Judges will automatically void those clauses. Why? Because anything involving kids is exclusively governed by what is in the best interests of the child at the exact moment of the divorce, not what you and your partner thought was a good idea a decade ago.
Section 6. The final verdict.
So, what's the bottom line here? When we look at this balance sheet, a prenuptial agreement is a major strategic calculation. You are essentially balancing short-term emotional awkwardness and upfront legal fees against long-term financial security and the prevention of a catastrophic, drawn-out legal nightmare. It forces real financial transparency from day one, sure, but it also demands that you navigate some highly uncomfortable conversations and accept that, well, you just can't perfectly predict the future.
And the biggest takeaway from the experts? Do not just sign this thing and shove it in a drawer to gather dust. That's a huge mistake. Life changes. To prevent resentment and make sure the agreement actually holds up in court, you have to maintain it. A lot of couples use what's called a sunset clause, basically an expiration date where the prenup dissolves after a set number of years, or they just commit to updating the document as their careers shift and their family grows.
Which leaves us with this final, kind of mind-bending question to chew on. We almost always view prenups as planning for a marriage's demise, right? But what if sitting down, laying all your financial cards faced up on the table, and actively choosing how to protect each other even in a worst-case scenario is actually the ultimate exercise in trust? Instead of a prediction of failure, maybe, just maybe, radical transparency today is the strongest possible foundation for a successful tomorrow. Think about it.